Yo, it's Black History Month, and I'm excited. I'm ready. I done got this new microphone here. I hope it works. If not, we're going to pick it up next week because I only do one take. All right, here it goes.
You're listening to I Have Given My Answer with Liz Gillum of E616 Consulting. If you're ready to take part in the conversations that give Black women the comfort, the community, and the confidence to live our lives freely, recognize our true worth, and embrace softness, and I know you are, then you are in the right place. I am your host, and you can join me each week as we talk honestly and authentically, freely and in our own words. There is no one here to disappoint, no one here to judge, just Black women supporting other Black women. If you are ready for that community, then step into the right place.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to this week's episode of I Have Given My Answer. I'm Liz. I am the lead consultant at E616 Consulting, where we take the wisdom of fictional badasses and apply it to our own messy, glorious lives. And I'm so excited to be here with you all for a few reasons. Number one, it's Black History Month. Happy Black History Month. Hey, happy Black History Month. Hey, I'm so excited to celebrate the richness that is our people on this land. And I'm so excited to be sharing this first episode of Black History Month with you all. Second reason I'm excited is we're back, and this is the first episode in a new year, our second year on the air. Our first episode aired last year, February 7th. So super excited to be doing this for a full year with you all. And I'm just really thankful that you all are still here rocking with me as we continue to get this thing going. And I'm excited about today's episode because it's something that has been in my spirit for a long time. But I think with it being Black History Month, it's important that we kind of go there. And I would like, as much as I can, for this month's focus to be on the Black characters of the MCU. And so why not start right here? What we're going to talk about today is what I have decided to call Sidekick Syndrome. Now, stay with me, okay? Because I got research, I got peer-reviewed research, but I also got Marvel stuff going on because, I'm going to come at you with all the different angles. But I'm thinking, it makes me think back to a time where my husband, we actually have a wedding anniversary this year. We got married on the leap day, so anniversaries are every 4 years. But back when we started dating, he said something to me, and he was talking about his friends and how his friends related to him and how he related to them. And he noted this instance where he started to feel like he was more of their fan instead of their friend. Whereas he was doing all the reaching out and he was doing all this. We've all been there. I've been there, certainly. And I'm not the best person. I'm always doing something, but everybody who reaches out to me knows I'm available. So, but he felt like that, right? And that has always stuck with me because you have to realize where you are in somebody else's story, right? You want to be aware of that. But what I want to talk to you about today is how to make sure that you are not the side character or the fan in your own story. Like, you need to be front and center in your own story. So that has always sat with me since he said it, and I want to keep going with that. But Sidekick Syndrome is really when you are somebody else's side character. You are the sassy best friends. You are not really doing a whole lot in their eyes other than being there to support them. They're not there to support you. They're not there to make sure you get on and you get what you need. And nobody else is either. You're just a side character. And that's a problem. All right. So we're going to talk about Sidekick Syndrome and why that's so important and why it's so prevalent in Black women. And it's not because we put ourselves there. A lot of the time it's because we're put there. We're supposed to be put somewhere where we can be safe, where we can be contained, where people know what to do with us. And that ends up leading us to being sidekicks and side characters a lot of the time. And so I want to talk about that today because if you have found yourself in this place, I want you to know that it's not your fault and it's not too late. to move yourself out of that. I really want to go into that. So, especially during Black History Month, like this is our month. This is the time. Stand up, stand tall, stand proud, stand out. Let's go, right? Let's go. So, if we go to the MCU, and if you have heard any of my MCU rants, you know me and I want to throw hands with the way MCU has dealt with Sam Wilson. I want to throw hands, right? Like he came out with all this promise as the Falcon, it was great, and then they just kind of floundered along with him. Unless we're talking about On Your Left in Endgame, which brings me to tears every time, right? But I want to talk about Sam. Like he came out minding his business, a social worker at the VA, doing his own thing, not bothering nobody, and all of a sudden he just cannot mind his business, and now he in these white folk business helping Captain America break into these bases, and now you're arrested. Getting taken to underground bunkers to see who you thought was dead, Nick Fury. It's too much, Sam. It's too much. All you had to do was drink your orange juice. It's too much, right? But Sam was brought in as the sidekick. And that was his position. That's who he was in the comics, and he came on through. This is his origin story, and I understand that, right? But now, Sam Wilson, at the end of Endgame, was given the shield by Captain America himself. Sam is the one supposed to take up the mantle, and yet he continues to be relegated to sidekick. They called him the sidekick all over Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Wasn't until the end credits of the last episode that they called him Captain America. And then here we are 2 years later, and every episode of What If and Multiverse of Madness gives us Captain Carter. Even when you have earned your space at the front of the line, if we are not careful who is telling our story, we will still be relegated to sidekick. And it's urgent that we focus on that and we understand that we don't have to let other people keep us there. Now, I'm sure they're working on something, and I'm sure it's great, and I'm sure it's wonderful, but we don't have to let that be what happens in our lives. Okay? Let's also look back at Rhodey, Iron Man's sidekick. Now, again, Rhodey is out here, has been backing Tony up, has been on the sidelines, Tony shenanigans, works for the government, is the Iron Patriot, is War Machine, is doing all of these things on his own, and has some sort of credibility in his own right, and is still largely just Tony's sidekick. Man done lost the use of his legs. Then came around and got overtaken by, listen, another sidekick, when in all actuality, he could be his own character with some depth. Don Cheadle is an amazing actor. If we're going to step out of the storyline for a moment, they could use him so much more. And I was so excited that they actually did use him in Secret Invasion, but it was such wonder wrapped up in a show that was mediocre at best. What are we doing? What are we doing? It was such a good, that show was so good in terms of examining Blackness and learning more of the character study and backstory of Nick Fury and his relationship to Blackness with Rhodey's. And there was so much of that going on, but like, what did we do? We fumbled it. Okay. If we are not careful who is telling our story, they may not put us in the best light. I often use as the basis for many of my papers and articles is Melissa Harris Perry's Sister Citizen. And in that, she talks about the different stereotypical portrayals of Black women, the mammy, the Jezebel, the sassy best friend, right? Think about how in all the shows that came out in the 90s and all this stuff, we were going around, except Friends, which was like milk. They all had a sassy Black best friend, right? They would go to her as like their magical Negro. She had tips and tricks, but then she was never the main story. And not just in white shows, in Black shows too. Think about Moesha and Kim, sassy best friend. Everyone laughs at her. She's the jokester. She's the butt of every joke, but really had her own story and could have told it. Right? Don't let that be you. Don't let that be you. So we're seeing it in the MCU. We've seen it in TV that we used to know and love back in the day. Don't let it be you now. You don't have to do that. Okay? There is so much power in understanding the multi-dimensional characters that we are as Black women, right? We are content to let our friends take the lead, but we have to also be content to be the lead, to have the focus on us and understand that it does not mean we are conceited. It does not mean that we are full of ourselves. It means that we have earned our space. Jay-Z said it last night at the Grammys. Sit there until they call you chairman. Sit there until they put you at the head of the table. We deserve it. We have earned it. We are good at the shit that we do. And we have earned that spot. You do not have to remain in somebody else's shadow just to get along. You do not have to be somebody's supporting character just to get on the billing. You deserve your own top spot. And it's so important to make sure that we have people who are interested in telling our stories and hearing our stories so that we can tell them ourselves. A stark contrast to this in the MCU was Heimdall. He was Thor's best friend and still considered somewhat of a sidekick, but Thor deferred to him, which meant we looked at him different, right? Sam was always Cap's sidekick, his number 2. Same with Rhodey and Iron Man. But Thor went to Heimdall for counsel, for help, called him his best friend, and acted like it. And at the beginning of Infinity War, when it all came down to it, Heimdall was the one who turned the knife and saved everybody and sacrificed his life for it. That is a story. That is an example of someone who is in the spotlight, who doesn't mind sharing it with you. It's very clear he doesn't mind. Okay? It's very clear that Thor didn't mind sharing that with Heimdall. So we got to see different dimensionalities of Heimdall. He got to help the people in Thor Ragnarok make it to safety. We got to see all of that. We never really got to see a whole lot of that with Sam and Rhodey early on. Okay? And that's the power of storytelling. You've got to control your own narrative. That's how you break free from sidekick roles. Be seen, be heard, be felt, be known. Let people know who you are. Stand up and stand out. Again, I'm telling you. Don't just take it where you have to be somebody's sidekick, because that's not what we're doing anymore. On top of that, we also need to make sure that we are dealing with Black storytellers and Black creators. And I don't just mean in our media, I mean in our lives. Who's telling your story? Who are you hanging around? We see each other. Who are you around? Who's telling your story? Come on, Hamilton. Who lives, who dies, who tells your story? Who is it? Who is it? Who is telling the story of your life? Who is speaking your name in the rooms that you're not in? And who is speaking it in reverent tones? Those are the people you need to be in collaboration with when you are writing your story. The people who are speaking about you positively and lifting you up and saying, I use this person for counsel. This person is my friend. You need to know who this person is. Those are the people you need telling your story. The people who were content to leave you at sidekick don't deserve your space. And that goes for you too. If you're content to stay at sidekick, then what is that about? Why are you content when you are the one in charge of telling and distributing your story? Why are you content being the sidekick? Now, I'm not talking about your kids, okay? Sometimes we got to know where we stand with the children. But like, why are you content with just being the sidekick? You are and have your own story. Think about Black Panther. When Ryan Coogler took over, hey, babe, the glory. We saw Blackness. We saw Africana. We saw magic. We saw so much that we just had not even imagined in the Marvel Cinematic Universe because we didn't leave our stories to them. Luke Cage, same thing. Blackness in the soundtrack, in the acting, in the slang, in the references to Trayvon. Happy birthday, baby. Like so much when our stories are told by us, and that translates to real life. Okay? We have to see other Black characters as heroes, villains, and everything in between so that we can remember that we are multidimensional and that our lives contain complexities untold. But you don't have to be the sidekick in anybody's life anymore. So you already know, I'm gonna come here, I'm gonna tell you the story, I'm gonna tell you how it works, and I'm gonna teach you how to make sure that you are centered in your own life. 4 tangible tips on how to make sure that you are challenging sidekick syndrome in your life. Number 1, you got to embrace your individuality. If you are afraid to be yourself and to be yourself loudly, you will be fine being second place because you will think you belong there, you deserve to be there, and you have no other option. But if you understand that you are the shit on your own, you don't need anybody else's validation, endorsement, or anything else, then you will begin to stand tall. You will begin to stand up, and you will begin to take over as the main character in a way that nobody can deny. Embrace that individuality. Number 2, find your voice. Share your stories, your perspectives, and your ideas, and share them authentically. Let people know, I didn't like how that went. I didn't like how that sounded. I feel like you could have came to me instead of going around me. Call people out on their stuff. Talk to people. Okay? Talk to people. Find your voice. Embrace your individuality. Find your voice. Support Black creators. And that means supporting yourself too. Think about Issa and everybody telling her there was not going to be an audience for a show about awkward Black girls. And then we got all these great seasons of Insecure. Think about Michaela Cole with Netflix telling her, if you give us your show, we have to own the rights to it. She took I May Destroy You to HBO and gave us one of the greatest shows that I've seen in a long time. Donald Glover. These are all Black storytellers who are telling our stories in a rich tapestry of diversity and beauty and all of the things that make us who we are. Right? Support Black creators, and that includes you. You are in charge of your story. You create your story. You create your voice. You keep it going. Support Black creators. Consume, promote, and protect content by Black creators. Embrace your individuality. Support Black creators. Find your voice. And number 4, challenge harmful stereotypes. Speak up against limiting narratives about Black people. Am I saying that we need to go into respectability politics? I am absolutely not. I definitely went out today with a bandana tied on my head and mismatched sweats, and my mother would have had a fit, but I was comfortable and I got ready to get done. We're not doing respectability politics. We don't subscribe to that here in this space. You want to go out with a bonnet on your head? Go ahead, sis. Protect your edges. Okay? But I want you to challenge harmful stereotypes. Don't let people tell you what is and is not professional in the workplace. That's Eurocentric. We don't have time for that. If someone hits you with a harmful stereotype, flip it on them. Ask them, oh, my hair is not professional. What makes it unprofessional? Can you explain it to me just so I make sure that I understand where you're coming from? Have them explain to you. My language isn't professional. Can you explain to me where I went wrong? Can you tell me what happened? Just so I can understand what you're trying to tell me. Make sure that they have to eat their words when they give them back to you. Embrace your individuality, find your voice, support Black creators, and challenge harmful stereotypes. Those are the 4 ways that you can make sure that you are outkicking sidekick syndrome. Because you ain't nobody's sidekick, baby. I promise you that. You ain't nobody's sidekick. And you don't have to be. You are magic. You are powerful. And I am so proud of you. And I am so proud to know you. And everybody else can kick rocks with socks on and no shoes. Okay? Happy Black History Month. Happy Black History Month. Happy birthday, Trayvon Martin, who would have been 29 on the time of this recording. We love you. We love you. Have a beautiful day, y'all. All right, sidekicks, no more. Because you are the main story in your life and your story deserves to be told. And I want to hear it. So in the comments, talk to me. Find us on social media. We are at E616 Consulting on both Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. That's all 3. Let me holler at you. Okay. Tell me your story. Share it with me. Shoot me an email. I want to hear about you. I want to hear from you. Okay, let's get it going. On our website, e616consulting.com, You can also find out which Black Marvel heroine archetype you fall into, and then that will come with lessons on how to center yourself even more in your storytelling. There's a whole bunch popping off. Okay? I love you. Happy Black History Month, and I'll talk to you all soon.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of I Have Given My Answer. This week's episode was produced by Oz Longworth Jr. of Longworth Media Solutions. We hope that you have been reminded that you are enough. Be sure to come back next week where we'll have another conversation to remind you just how wonderful you are. We here at E616 Consulting keep Black women grounded in love through community, comfort, and confidence. And we can't do that without you. We can't wait to hear how this episode touched you because we know it moved our souls. Sis, you are enough, and we love you for it.